With the new year, another Jurassic Park would be built. Better technologies and modified dinosaur genes would promise attractions and dinosaurs never seen before in any other park. For the building of the park, a large clearing was created near the island of the previously established domain, and everything was flattened except for one very sturdy tree on a small hill. It was so sturdy, in fact, that it would be labeled the hard-headed tree and would be left alone for the time being. Investors this time wanted to create more of an amusement park than just a zoo. Something that resembled Universal Studios in a way, and thus guest facilities would need to look a bit more quirky. Straw rooftops and funnier designs would be intermixed with the traditional facilities that were created prior to this. The helipad was the first thing to be built, and it came to no surprise that access was restricted to investors and parties of interest only for now. Currently, there wasn't that much to do at the site itself anyway. Investors could see the terrain at which over the next coming months the park would be extended. There were several presentations of plans to be followed, and a selection of potential snacks and drinks that would be served at the park could be consumed while waiting for one's flight. The park would also cater to a younger audience, and thus the idea of having dinosaur-shaped steaks, pancakes, or sweets gained popularity. In terms of potential drinks, the Mojitosaurus was the most popular, and thus plans were made to build the first actual guest facilities which could be explored and experienced until the first dinosaurs were ready to be released. First, a small path would need to be paved that leads to the boulevard. The small path would be anticipation before the actual feeling that you have arrived at the majestic Jurassic Park. But currently, it was a bit barren, and so the first of the facilities were built right outside of the helipad. The first two facilities would be a gift shop and a restroom. The gift shop would already be stocked so that the investors would get an idea of the merchandise that would be sold. Then next up, a proper cafe would be built where for the time being, business people could have their much needed caffeine dosage and a few sandwiches here and there. Next up was another gift shop, because it was all about the merchandise, and people would be swayed to buy stuff as they came in, but also as they would leave the park. Then the first guest facilities around the boulevard would be erected. Again, food and drinks would be important, so a restaurant was created rather than the smaller cafe, and even though there were gift shops already, a toy shop would need to be made as well. Scientists did not care for all that merchandise. They just wanted to create dinosaurs no one had ever seen eye to eye before. And more buildings were created as well. The boulevard in and of itself really started to look like something. Flags with logos were waving in the wind, guiding visitors to where they needed to go. But for now, there wasn't a soul on here yet. The next additions were an arcade and a fossil zone. The arcade would utilize the latest game releases that were dinosaur themed, including Turok Eternal, Dino Crisis 5, and GTA Dino City. The fossil zone would be an attraction for smaller children and wannabe archaeologists, where they could dig in custom-made pits looking for small dinosaur bones and trinkets that they could take home as a souvenir. Trailers and promotional materials showed a bit how the customer would experience the park up until now. It had potential, but a lot more needed to be done before it could be opened to the major public. And so, the next set of facilities were prepared and built. The first would be a bowling alley. With no dinosaurs at the moment and probably having only a handful at first, there needed to be enough entertainment elsewhere within the park. though it's questionable how many people are dying to go for a bowling trip when visiting an amusement park. What was more successful was the lounge, which offered a nice view in the shade, and several investors and public figures were invited to test out this particular and other facilities. The reviews initially were great, but everyone wanted to see dinosaurs again. And so the pathway that would take you as a guest to your first dinosaur experience was created. The first fence perimeter was erected along the path. It was rather narrow, signaling that the first dinosaurs would not be the huge brutes that some were anticipating. While the incubation facility was finalized, exotic plants and trees were planted to appeal to the zone's first inhabitants. For the first dinosaur, the investors wanted something special, something that the public had not seen yet in any of the previous parks that had their short lifespan. The Dimetrodon was chosen as the first dinosaur that people could view. It wasn't as big and fierce that it would take your breath away and left anticipation for bigger dinosaurs in the open, while at the same time impressing with its back fin and aggressive-looking demeanor. For this first pen, there would be 3 Dimetrodon be brought to life. Usually these creatures would find themselves in bigger herds of other dinosaurs. Their tiny physique made it to where they could not watch out for larger predators, and had to be dependent on the eyesight and hearing from larger animals. But there was nothing to fear in this environment, so having the 3 together would work just fine. In order to move the dinosaurs over, a ranger station still had to be created. The building was made and several rangers were hired. The operation to move the dinosaurs from the incubation facility to their own pen was a bit chaotic at first. The Dimetrodons were easily startled. They ran like crazy when the rangers invaded their space with the jeeps. They also had to be shot underneath the fin, an area not too big, since the fin itself was too hard to puncture with the track darts. But in the end, all 3 went down, and with the help of several choppers, they were moved into their new home. Their new pen was right up their liking. It had enough places with shade to cool off, but enough open areas to explore, and the watering area where all 3 came together once in a while. They were first a little bit stressed on arrival. Most were thirsty and quickly headed to the nearest water. But it did not take long for them to grow used to the place, and the first proper dinosaur attraction was established. Their bodies and heads could get lost in the tall grass, but their giant fins were always visible, giving the audience always a great splendor with different colors and patterns. And though the Dimetrodons would probably impress quite a few visitors, it was not enough to officially open the park just yet. At least a second type of dinosaur attraction needed to be present. This time, a second pen was created, much bigger at the opposite end of the Dimetrodon zone. It was so big that multiple types of dinosaurs could be present. And so the scientists had several meetings to come up with a plan what star attraction to add to the park next. Hey everybody, and thanks so much for watching the first episode of the new season of Jurassic World Evolution. If you like what you see, then please also go and check out some of my other YouTube channels that you can find in the description down below. I have several Let's Play channels, I have a Star Wars Battlefront 2 focused gaming channel, and I have a gaming review channel. If you like what you see there, then please also support those channels and subscribe. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys next time.